Hi everyone, myself Prasant Kumar. Today I am presenting class seminar on the topic of newer tools of cryopreservation. So cryopreservation is a process used for the preservation of biological samples for the prolonged period of time in frozen state. The principle of cryopreservation is to bring cell to a zero metabolism or non-dividing state by reducing the temperature in the presence of cryoprotectant. The optimum temperature for the preserving biological samples over a solid carbon dioxide at minus 79 degrees centigrade, at very low temperature minus 80 degrees centigrade, in vapor phase nitrogen at minus 150 degrees centigrade, in liquid phase nitrogen at minus 196 degrees centigrade. So the first question arises that why do we need cryopreservation? These are the some points related to the importance of cryopreservation. Preserved tissue from exotic or endangered species, easy import or export of tissue between the countries, establishment of cells and tissue bank for future use, conserve the unique or desired germ plasm such as oocytes, sperm embryos, protect valuable animal cell lines from potential loss due to environmental disasters and infectious diseases. Actively growing cells over a long period of time may alter the gene expression and differentiate cells, because the continued growth and passage of cells may cause them to lose their original features. Save time and money because obtaining new cells is costly and time consuming. These are the properties of the liquid nitrogen. Liquid nitrogen is a gas. Liquid nitrogen is the chemically inert gas, relatively in low cost, non-toxic, non-flammable and easily available gas. Advantage of the liquid nitrogen freezing are as follows. The dehydration loss from the product is usually less than 1%. Oxygen is excluded during the freezing. Individually frozen pieces of the product undergoes the minimal freezing damage. Then the equipment is simple, suitable for the continuous flow operation, adaptable of various production. The only disadvantage of the liquid nitrogen freezing is the high operating cost. So this is the another important compound. Cryoprotective agents are the molecules that protect cells from any sort of cryo damage. The cryoprotectants are mainly classified into two categories: the permeating cryoprotectants and non-permeating cryoprotectants. Permeating cryoprotectants are the small molecules that readily permeate the cell membrane and form hydrogen bond with the water molecules and prevent ice crystallization. At lower concentration in water, they lower the freezing temperature, prevent from solution effect. And the example of this, the propylene glycol, ethylene glycol and glycerol and DMSO, etc. The non-permeating cryoprotectant, these are the macromolecules which remain the extracellular and they don't permeate the cell membrane. They draw free water from the cells, causing dehydration of the intracellular space. They are used in combination with the permeating cryoprotectant and play an important role during the thawing process. The example of this non-permeating cryoprotectants are the sucrose, trehalose, dextran, etc. These are the main characteristics of the cryoprotectants. They provide high degree of cell survival during the freezing and lower the freezing point. Protect cell membrane from freeze-related injuries. They have high solubility at low molecular weight and low toxicity at high concentration. These are the newer tools of the cryopreservation which we are going to discuss in the coming slides. Let's begin with the advanced biotechnological tools for cell cryopreservation. In recent times, cell cryopreservation has become an important supporting technology for various cell-based applications such as stem cell therapy, tissue engineering, assisted human reproduction and transfusion medicine. Red blood cells cryopreservation has also gained importance in the past few years. Cryopreservation of red blood cells can extend the storage time from 42 days to 10 years, which will add to the burden of short blood supply, especially in the remote areas. The structure shows that the trehalose delivery into the red blood cell cytoplasm. The interaction of biomimetic apatite nanoparticle with the lipid bilayer and enhance the delivery of trehalose into RBCs. Trehalose delivery method. Trehalose is a non-permeating disaccharide which is used as a bio-inspired cryoprotective agent to protect cells or organisms against the cryo-injuries. Trehalose delivery is proposed to deliver the non-permeable but the biocompatible trehalose into cells as an alternative to organic solvent with the aim to provide intracellular cryopreservation. Trehalose provides extracellular protection only owing to its lower permeability. Trehalose delivery method involving the physical and the chemical delivery method. The physical delivery method including the freezing induced membrane phase transition and the electroporation technology have been used to promote the permeation of trehalose into the cells. The example of this method, the use of high extracellular concentration of trehalose for freezing platelets. This method resulted in 98% membrane intact platelets, 76% of which were in non-activated resting state. This platelet cryopreservation protocol avoided any use of DMSO. Another method of the trehalose delivery is the chemical delivery method. Chemical delivery method utilizes the cell membrane perforating agent like synthetic polymer. They can interact with the cell membrane and increase the membrane permeability. Alpha hemolysin is a genetically engineered endotoxin derived from Staphylococcus aureus to achieve the intracellular delivery of trehalose. Alpha hemolysin, being a bacteria-derived pore protein, may induce undesirable immune response in patients. Therefore, it must be removed from cells prior to their use of clinical therapy. This is the structure of the alpha hemolysin. The example of that, the trehalose has been used as a sole cryoprotective agent in combination with these chemical delivery methods to successfully cryopreserve RBCs, fibroblasts, keratinocytes and human mesenchymal stem cells. Let's understand the cryoinjury and cryoprotection. Cryopreservation process can cause the cell damage such as loss of cell viability and functions because of the following reasons: ice injury, solution injury and osmotic injury, cytotoxicity of cryoprotective agents, recrystallization during the thawing process. And this figure depicted that when the slow cooling provided to the normal cells, they may induce excessive dehydration that causes the solution injury. And whenever the rapid cooling provided to the normal cells, the growth during the cryopreservation can mechanically damage the structure of the cells. And these injuries can be prevented by the use of cryoprotectant and allow them to successful storage in cryogenic temperature. And the figure shows that the trehalose delivery of the non-permeable organic solvent which provide intracellular cryoprotection. Other techniques, mainly hydrogel based cell encapsulation, droplet based cell printing, nanowarming, provide extracellular cryoprotection. The next method is the hydrogel based cell encapsulation technology. This technology refers to the encapsulation of living cells within the semi-permeable capsules prepared by using the hydrogel materials. These methods can be divided into three categories: emulsion method, extrusion method and microfluidics method. In the emulsion method, emulsion is a generic method used to encapsulate cells within the bulk hydrogels. And the figure shows that the addition of gelator into the cryovial, which having the culture medium, then dissolve it and add cells and cool it at 4 degrees centigrade after adding the DMSO. Then freeze it at -80 degrees centigrade so the ice crystal have formed. Then transfer this gel into the liquid by thawing at 37 degrees centigrade in the water bath. After that, remove the gelator by centrifugation process. In the continuation of the emulsion method, now coming to the synthesis of hydrogel and cell encapsulation. The hydrogel were formed by reacting the two components DbCO-Dex and azide-Dex polyamphylite via the click chemistry. This click chemistry derived hydrogel does not require any toxic cross-linking agent. In the figure 8, the scientists developed the polyamphylite cryoprotectant with the azide group that form in situ hydrogel that can encapsulate cells along with the DbCO-Dex via the cuprous-free click chemistry. In the figure B, the system shows the excellent cryoprotective properties without any additional cryoprotectant. And the figure C representative picture of the cells hydrogel construct the 10% polymer concentration with the azide-Dex polyamphylite and DbCO-Dex ratio of the 4:1 by weight and the 570 milliosmol and the pH is the 7.4. The second method of this technology is the extrusion method. Extrusion method majorly include the two methods: electrostatic spray and air jet encapsulation technology. These are commonly used for the cell encapsulation owing to their high throughput and production of evenly sized beads. In the electrostatic spray method, they involve the generation of droplets containing the cells and polymer from the nozzle, followed by spraying into a container with a gelling bath to form the hydrogel beads. In the air jet capsulation technology used to produce a small, uniform and smooth alginate beads. Example of this method: the first time cryopreservation of the brain cell neurosphere by encapsulating the cells with the alginate hydrogels using the air jet 2-channel droplet generator. The figure shows that the electrospray method for the encapsulation of cell in the core cell capsules and offers several advantages including the cytocompatibility, easy operation and high efficiency. The third method of this technology is the microfluidic method. This method is to establish single isolate based quality control assay for assessing the quality and functionality of individually cryopreserved cells. Microfluidic method permit high degree of control over the morphological and dimensional properties. The figure shows that in a droplet microfluidic platform, the individual right pancreatic isolates were encapsulated with the fluorescent oxygen sensitive dye, functionalized hydrogel microcapsules. The capsulation process of rat isolate in the microchannel. The next method is the droplet based cell printing. This is the advanced technology of the cryopreservation created a series of novel vitrification protocols that are characterized by the lower cryoprotective agent concentration and higher the cooling and warming rates. This is mainly applied to the smaller volume of cryo system. Advantage of this system is the whole process is easy and quick. This innovative approach may contribute significantly in the development of cryopreservation. The figure shows that the RBC cryoprotective agent droplets were printed onto a cryo paper as the nitrogen gas flow through a droplet ejector, which transformed the bulk of the RBC cryoprotective agent mixture into the nanoliter droplets. Vitrification was achieved by the submerging the cryo paper into the liquid nitrogen. Warming process was performed by the thawing the cells on a cryo paper in the phosphate buffer saline at 37 degrees centigrade. The next method is the nanowarming. Nanowarming generally involves the use of some nanomaterials such as ferrospheric oxide nanoparticles that can rapidly convert electromagnetic or the light energy into heat energy. The rapid and uniform rewarming of the biosample can be achieved by incorporating these nanomaterials into cryoprotective agent solution and heating with the external electromagnetic and radio frequencies rays. This figure represented that the tissue vitrification, convective warming and the nanowarming. In step A, the tissue are harvested from a donor, and the B represented that the tissue are loaded in a vial with the cryoprotective agent in a stepwise protocol vitrified by standard convection and stored at cryogenic temperature. Then the warming by standard convection lead to the failure in larger 50 ml system, and the D represented that in a nano warming an alternating magnetic field, an inductive radio frequency coil that stimulate nanoparticles hitting this avoid warming failure and the tissue suitable for further use. These are the new approaches to cryopreservation of cells, tissue and organs: short-term hypothermic preservation and long-term preservation. In the short-term hypothermic preservation, at the temperature of a few degrees above the freezing point, around 4 degrees centigrade, has provided the basis for nearly all methods of preserving tissue and solid organs. In the long-term preservation, for the much lower temperature, -120 to -195 degrees centigrade, and require the tissue to the rigors of heat and mass transfer during the protocol designed to optimize the cooling and warming in the presence of cryoprotective agents. These are the major challenges during the biopreservation: control the excessive ice formation and ice injury from the chilling, hold cryoprotectant toxicity at acceptable levels, limit the disproportionate mechanical or the thermodynamic stress, and avoid the unacceptable level of ischemic injury. Ensure the acceptable repair and revival protocols. Now coming to the novel supercooling method. In the novel supercooling, the two of the most prominent strategies involve the synthesis of high amount of low molecular weight carbohydrate which provide colligative resistance to detrimental decrease in cell volume, stabilize phospholipid bilayer and restrict the formation of intracellular ice. Synthesis of ice blocking molecules that bind molecular surface around which the ice would otherwise form. This structure shows that the temperature profile of supercooling. The scientists apply knowledge to supercooling to develop a novel protocol enabling the viable preservation of rat liver at -6 degrees centigrade and successfully transplanted after the 3 to 4 days of storage. This is significantly increased 5 to 10 fold over the current clinical methods. Deep supercooling for extended cryopreservation of red blood cells. The deep supercooling techniques was applied to more than double the current preservation time of the red blood cells. Red blood cells are usually stored at 4 degrees centigrade for up to 42 days. The research team led by Dr. Usta used to deep supercooling approach to safely preserve the RBC suspension up to 100 ml at -13 degrees centigrade as long as 100 days. Once the technique successful in a more clinical range, 300 to 500 ml deep supercooling could become the routine in the blood bank around the world. This figure shows that the shelf life of the blood frozen vs liquid. The frozen blood is sustained for about the 10 years and the liquid state 42 days. The another use of the deep supercooling for extended cryopreservation of liver. Other teams from the same institutions used the supercooling to preserve the human liver outside of the body for at least 27 hours. Human liver are particularly difficult to preserve as they are the largest solid organ in the body. Researchers employed a three-pronged approach to successfully cryopreserve the liver. They prevented heterogeneous ice nucleation by the blocking interface between the liquid and air, which is the major site of crystallization. They replaced the blood with a preservation cocktail containing two sugars, trehalose and glycerol, to help the liver stay unfrozen below the sub-zero temperature. They used a hypothermic machine perfusion step to gently circulate the preservation cocktail through the liver's blood vessels. Liquidus tracking is a new cryopreservation method that provides a vitrification process at reduced cryoprotective agent toxicity. Liquidus tracking used to sequentially increase the concentration of cryoprotective agent in a stepwise manner during cooling to minimize the solid toxicity and osmotic shock. The principle of liquidus tracking is the cryoprotective agent toxicity is reduced at lower temperature due to less metabolic selectivity. This graph shows that the temperature of the solution is reduced at just above the freezing point. The cryoprotective agent concentration is increased to prevent the freezing at lower temperatures. Now coming to the application of liquidus tracking. A bioartificial liver device is a short-term solution for patients with acute liver failure until the liver has recovered or liver transplant is available. This figure shows that the bioartificial liver device which sustains the patient's liver function and plasma is perfused against the alginate encapsulated liver cells within the fluidized bioreactor. The cryopreserving large volume of samples increase the ice formation and cell death. By using the high concentration of cryoprotectant at low temperature, ice formation can be prevented. This is known as vitrification because the high amount of cryoprotective agent are toxic to the cells. Reducing the cryoprotective agent toxicity by using the different combination of cryoprotective agent that may be used within the liquidus tracker. The next method is the isochoric cryopreservation. This is a novel paradigm for biopreservation that utilizes the more thermodynamic degree of freedom that can avoid ice formation. In the isochoric, constant volume cooling provides a significantly lower non-frozen storage temperature without any requirement for cryoprotective agent. In isochoric system, the volumetric expansion which normally results from ice formation in a solution surrounding the tissue is prevented by using a pressure resistant constant volume chamber. This instead results in increased pressure which restricts the further ice growth. A high sub-zero preservation, at least 45 supercooling species including mammals tolerate the temperature as low as -14 degrees centigrade. For example, Arctic wood frog can enter suspended animation as low as -20 degrees centigrade for weeks to months. Rabbit kidney successfully cooled at -45 degrees centigrade before transplantation for sustaining life. Supercooling at -6 degrees centigrade for extended liver preservation time 3 to 4-fold in rats. In this slide, the important figure shows that the new nature-inspired and bioengineering approaches to cryopreservation compared with the classical methods. Now coming to the conclusion and future perspective of this topic. We ensure that the cryopreservation technology provided useful cell survivability, tissue and organ preservation in a proper way. The true potential of biotechnology for cell cryopreservation. Future work should focus not only on the advancement of existing applications but also discover new innovative techniques for prolonged period of cryopreservation. And these are the references. Thank you.